So good evening, everyone. So first of all, thank you so much for the organizer for inviting me here. So first time in Dubai and first time in Did Expo. So I think just the past 2 days here, I can feel how vibrant is the communities here for people with different needs. So I wish something like this in Hong Kong. And then actually I was tweeting and putting in on my IG about what happening in the expo. And there already been two NGO that's so excited and they want to come next year. So one of them is actually a para Olympic athlete that are actually starting a foundation in Hong Kong. They're helping people with disabilities. So I think this is the connections that we want to build today. So what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes? I will only do three things. So one, I'll talk about what is MTR. The other one is like why we were doing inclusion, why social inclusion is important to us. And the last thing is about our secret sauce, how we are doing it. But before I do this, I want to provide a bit of context first. So anyone have been to Hong Kong? Can you raise your hand? Oh, great. We have some visitors. And I warmly invite the others that to come to visit Hong Kong soon. So basically, Hong Kong is 4 times smaller than Dubai. And then we are having double the population. So what does it mean is that we are actually 8 times more crowded compared to Dubai. So naturally, what mass transit like MTR, what we do, we run the metro railway and we have 50% of the market share of Hong Kong travelers every day. It means that we have 5 million trips per day. So basically, it's almost like everyone in Dubai taking more than 1 trip per day. This is what's happening in Hong Kong. So given that we have like 7% of people with disabilities in Hong Kong, it means that we have 130,000 trips with passengers with disabilities in Hong Kong every day. So this is the context in your mind that when I go through the initiative that we are talking about, this is the context. And then one thing I have to mention that we are majority owned by the government, 74%, but we are also a listed company. So everything we do is that we have to operate under the commercial principle. And I think the last year, we actually make a profit of 15 billions. So this is a very rare case in metro companies. So I know a lot of you may be coming from airport side and stuff. Actually, most of the metro in the world are heavily subsidized by government. And actually, MTR is a very few examples that we can actually giving the money back as dividends to the government. And in the past 10 years, we have been given out $100 billion to the Hong Kong government. It's about $1 of AED to 2 Hong Kong dollars. So you can do a bit of calculations. So this is the how a bit of the context before I move on. So this is a bit about myself. So I joined the company since my graduation. So this is my 17 years in MTR. So MTR mobile apps is my first project when I finished my training in the school. So you can see our disabilities kind of like signage there, because back in the time, in 2013, we are one of the first company in Hong Kong to make our apps visually impaired people friendly. So this is the time that I'm still using iPhone 3GS. So this is the time that I buy. This is the time that I buy the iPhone 4, I think. So the 3GS is when I joined the company. So we're actually the second company in Hong Kong get featured by Apple. The first one is Standard Chartered, and the second one is us. And what we do is that we allow the visually impaired person to go through our apps, and then we are also at that time provide real-time information for all our lifts, so the people using wheelchair can know what happens in our station and plan their trip accordingly. And then fast forward, I was working in UK in our subsidiary, and then I was in CEO office. We do corporate innovation, and then I moved to do analytics, and then now I'm in the ESG team looking into social inclusion. So this is our company mission. We want to keep our cities moving, but then what does it mean by that? Is that we are doing it, we are putting the ESG in the core strategy of the company. Social inclusion, advancement opportunities, and greenhouse gas emission reduction. So we can see social inclusion is one of the core strategy when we're doing our social inclusion, because we do need the social license to operate. But what do you mean by that? And how do we approach these challenges? So what I will be talking about is we're having 4 pillars of how we are doing. And then I think some of you will find it very familiar. And one of the most fundamental things is about hardware. So you mentioned that we are having a very busy station. We have 99 of them in Hong Kong. Whoops. So this is what you can see in our station. So I think a lot of you will be very familiarized in the metro station in Dubai as well. You got the RAM, you got the rail map and stuff. But then we do provide something very special about the chargers, so the people can charge their wheelchair there. And then I also like put a circle on the lamp there. So this is the system that we basically just add in, so that allow the hearing impaired person, they know that the door is closing. So before that, we'll use the sound, and then the door will be closing. But then we do have the feedback that, oh, the hearing impaired person, they can't do it. And that's why we are like adding this on. And then this is fundamental. I think hardware is the basic things that we have to provide. And the second thing that we are talking about is about software. So the left-hand side is the apps that we create for MTR mobile users. So I think even back in 2013, we have 2 million of active users that we are using it in Hong Kong. But then what you see is that it's so complex. We put everything there. So I think 2 years ago, when we think about, oh, how can we serve the people with disabilities better, is that we're actually creating a new apps. So on the right-hand side, this is the app that we create for people with disabilities. So what do we have inside is that we are providing indoor navigation for all visually impaired person. In Hong Kong, a lot of our station is actually underground. What are the challenges? We actually tried indoor navigation back in 2013 already. But then at that time, the technology was so limited, the error was so great that it will make a one turn, they will tell the visually impaired person make the one turn. And then finally, when we do the technology is mature, I think now we are doing in 3 lines that they can do all indoor navigation within the metro station. This is important because previously, what the visually impaired person do is that they either have the guide dog or the bell, but then the bell only connected to dedicated exit that is connecting to the government bell map outside the station. So that we are limiting their choice of which exit they are going. But with that, basically they can go everywhere. So this is how we do it. And there's another one is about the ramp. So when wheelchair users, when they go into the train, sometimes their wheels will get trapped between the gap. The train and the platform, there's a gap between. In before, they have to come to the station, they have to call our staff, and then they have to wait for the ramp to come and then they can go. But what we can do now is that they can book ahead. So our colleagues will go to the station, the platform, the exact location they request, and then they can go the trip much easier. And then every day we're handling 800 to 1,000 requests from the people with wheelchair. And then from this angle, we are not looking at just the customer service enhancement, but then we are also streamlining the back end. Because previously there was also complaint from the staff, there's so many of them that the request, they can't handle it. So that when we pitch this kind of functions, that we are not just looking at the customer service side, but we're also looking in the operation efficiency side. But then I think these two are still very basic of a company that should provide software, hardware. I think it's actually more important. It's actually about our colleagues, our staff. In MTR, we have 18,000 people working in the station. So I think 10,000 of them are frontline staff. So how you can make sure that their mind and body know that you want them to provide inclusive service to your passengers? I think it's easy to have policy, it's easy to have things, but then what can really make the difference is that everyone in your employee staff membership, they can actually think about what they can do more. So I think you have heard me enough. So what I'm doing next is that I'm going to show you, what I show you is what we do 3 years ago, how we kickstart the whole journey. We basically engage 3,000 staff in just 1 week. We let them know that what does it feel like to be a people with disabilities? Why is it important? Why is it important to make them feel inclusive? And then one of the things we want to let them know that when we are doing it, we're not just doing a charity. I think charity is not the way that how we approach things. I think how we approach it, we should put them in a way that they can shine, and then we can use their service and product in their daily life and daily service. So here's what we done 3 years ago.
可以大家一齊努力合作，令到咧我哋呢個社會咧係更加關愛、
Basically, is our
更加
CEO.
包容。
We are visually impaired musician to make the ways our
堅
awareness.
毅嘅精神咧，我係政府
Let's do back in COVID time.
嘅一
好好咯，因為我諗有啲同事未必平時可以接觸到呢啲產品。
So these all are C-level leaders. So we're engaging them with our activities, and then we get them to be our spokesperson.
社會共融咧係重中之重嘅。我哋有咗呢種共融嘅心咧，我哋先能夠真真正正做到一個所謂咩貼心嘅服務。
我哋要接受到社會上咧，每個人都係有自己嘅唔同啦。咁但係咧喺呢啲唔同裏邊咧，自己亦都有其實有自己嘅優
But
點
this
同埋
similar
長
to
處
what
嘅。
if I have fun, it's not just about disabilities, but also gender, elderly, intergenerational relationship.
係咯。
Our environmental and social objectives.
So you can see we also do public awareness in shopping mall because MTR we do one shopping mall. We have 14 of them in Hong Kong.
Just the first of a number of activities that we've got planned.
Social inclusion keeps cities moving.
So instead of just doing the awareness, what we do next is that we actually bring our staff to understand the community. So as just what a bit earlier before, they also mentioned about volunteers. So this is the one that we talk about soft meal. So what the SEN kids they also need is that they also sometimes have tooth decays and then they have to use soft meal, and then we raise awareness, and hopefully eventually by this there will be discussion in the company. There will be people knowing about it more, and then eventually we can actually doing this. So this is a program that we want to bring the people with differences into the workforce. So every year we have 150 interns in MTR in the summer, and then we committed 10% of them will be people with differences or from different diverse background. And this is a commitment that if we are not achieving, it will impact the salary of our CEO. So I think there's a huge commitment that we are making that to make sure that we are inclusive in the company. And this is the program that we provide 1 year work experience for people of differences. Because we think that summer internships, sometimes people still treat it as charity. But for this program, we are trying to put them in the places they can shine. So for SCN kids, we actually bring them to the places that they need to do data analytics. So some of the roles that even if you put me there, I probably will go crazy because I only face a computer and data. But then this is a place that they can actually thrive. And then it's interesting because we do tracking. And then to the next step is that we don't just put them in a company. Throughout the year, we have the support of mentors, buddies, we have supervisor training, and then we also train the colleagues around them. We do a survey, and then we ask, how would the supervisor rate these people with differences? And then a lot of them, 90, 100% of them rating them. But then their colleagues themselves, they probably rate 60 or 70%. So you can say this is the power of that. If you can put them in the right place, you don't actually need to do charity. So and also we are trying to do this to normalize the conversation. So hopefully after a few years, this can become a BAU, like business as usual. So we don't need this program anymore, but then everyone knows how to deal with it. But I think this the beauty about having the staff in the workforce is that the ideas or the experience, when you're talking about new concepts or new things, you're talking about human-centric design, we're talking design thinking process, and these are the places that they can actually put the input in our design in a very early stage. And then it can help us to launch actually it's the validation process, it goes so much quicker. So this is how we want to do, but I think the last one is actually the more powerful one. These are the communities. So this is one of the examples that how we do the inclusive side. So we do have trains. We have a company of 45 years old, and then we do have trains that are going to retire. And this is how we work with the local school. There's a school in Hong Kong that 100% of the kids are SEN. And then what we do is that we donate our retired train parts and we decorate their classroom into a railway classroom. So what does it bring? What's the benefit is that the SEN kid, when they go inside, they are more concentrated to learn about their mathematics, their English and stuff. But I think more importantly is that they actually train up 20 of SEN kids to be railway ambassador. And then they are teaching the business, the traveling etiquette about the SEN kid in metro. Because in Hong Kong, sometimes we are very crowded areas, like every train are packed. Sometimes the SEN kid doesn't feel safe. The stimulus is so overwhelming. They will become like unsettling in the train. And then for the caretaker, I think a lot of them, they don't feel safe to put them on the train by themselves. But with this classroom, they can help to train the kids. So eventually we can give them the right to independent travel. And then we can also bring their caretaker out. And then one of the best thing is that we are also opening this with the school. We have a deal with the school that this is the area that will open to the communities. So not just the school are using it as a place to teaching, but also the community can use it. And then I still remember when we opened the space, there's a little girl standing outside the classroom. The teacher said that, the girl have speaking difficulties. So just stand there and then waiting for us and then won't leave. And then eventually she just come to the teacher and say, she wants to introduce the classroom to us because she's one of the railway ambassador. So what she did is that in 20 minutes, she speak non-stop about the history, about MTR, why this classroom is important, why they is having fun in this classroom. And this is from a girl with speaking difficulties. So this is the first hand that we see that how we can leverage on the communities, the power of the community, the creativities, and our legacy and our common memories in the communities to build something different. I think a lot of SCN they actually are fans of railways, and then we actually have an apprentice in our company, and they are one of the graduates from this secondary school as well, and they help this secondary school to build a simulator of train. I bring my engineer to the to the school to see the simulators, and then what he said is that the simulator at school is actually more detailed and more perfect than ours. Ours is commercially, we use it to train our drivers, but the school had actually a better, because they have an apprentice, an SEN apprentice, that has been working in MTR and go back to help his own school. And the second one is that, just like when I do innovation, we always do things with communities. So what we do is that for everything we launch, this is a 12 angel and social enterprise. Some of them, they have thousands of members. Some of them, they are a few of working staff. But then what we do is that we have 1 year partnership with them every year. So we change partners sometimes. But then what we do is that, okay, this is something that we want to do. And then they will help us. They fill us the knowledge gap. And they also fill us with the network and the communication and stuff. So we are leveraging on the communities and bringing the changes, including the inclusive activities. And not just for NGO, we also work with other corporate. So this is an coalition in Hong Kong that we formed 4 years ago now. So we started with 12 companies. So we exchange volunteers. So we learn from each other how we deal with abilities issues, how we're promoting inclusion in different companies. So you can see there's some familiar names like HSBC, UBS, Starbucks, Goldman Sachs, and they are also the one that 3 years ago, I think we have like 12 companies working hand in hand. We exchange volunteers. And then last year, we had 31 companies in Hong Kong. In just 2 weeks, we have 700 volunteers doing 2,000 volunteer hours in the communities. So we believe that in ESG space, we don't compete, but then we can actually work as a group so that we can leverage on each other. So this is what we do in Hong Kong as well. So, and I think it's always interesting is that as a railway company, I always said that we are like a neutral platform for everyone. So from the very rich to the like grassroots in Hong Kong, they take MTR. So this is why we are one of the co-organizers of this event. This is the 4th year, and this year we are going to have 50 companies going together. So last thing is about what we do is that we also run youth program. So last year we trained 2,000 secondary school kids with AI application, design thinking, entrepreneurship. Also we test them out. We do not train them, but we bring them to the communities. We ask them to come up with solutions about the community needs. So one of them is people with disabilities. So 4 girls last year, they come up with the ideas about helping visually impaired person taking buses. Because in MTR, we also run buses in Hong Kong. So what the visually impaired person do now is that they hold a white paper, they say their bus number and the direction, and then they just stand at the bus station, and then they wait. But then they never know that whether someone is standing behind, in front of them, and then whether the bus driver can see them. So sometimes they miss the bus. So what the girls mentioned is that they want to install the speaker at the bus stop to provide accessibilities. And then we actually help them to, they also want to brown map and also the tactile guide path to the bus stop. It's not the end of the story because we bring them to see the real users. We bring them to see the visually impaired person. And then what the validation told them is that not everyone can read Braille, even the visually impaired person, because some of them, they basically get visually impaired when they grow up and then they never learn about that. So what they do is that eventually they modify their ideas. They only stay with the RFID activated speaker at the bus stop. That's why they win the game, and then we bring them to Australia, to Beijing, because we do have hubs and running metro there. So they see our business there, they see how we do inclusion in our hubs. And then when they come back for the trip, we bring them to see our engineer. And then the first thing the engineer said, it's impossible for them to launch their stuff in our bus stop because we have 1,000 of them, and the capex and investment, it just doesn't make any business sense. But this is not the end of the story. The end is that we have our engineer and the school kids to work together. And now what we have done is that we modify the solutions. We are going to install external speaker in the buses this year for demo. And then we have secured the funding. So all 200 buses will install this loudspeaker externally for visually impaired person next year. So what we are trying to do is that we bring the school kid in, we gear them up with AI technology and stuff. We build their confidence, but then we also show them they can be the change maker. And then we also realize the changes for the people with disabilities. So this is how we do things in communities together. So as I said, community is always the most powerful tools that we have amongst our 4 pillars. And then what we do is that we listen and we respond. What our vision is that we call it MTR, but then the full name is like Mass Transit Railway. But then what we try to do is that we want to do the personalization. We want to take the mass out of the mass transit. This is how we approach the accessibility functions. And then I want to end this sharing with a video about how we do ESG. A lot of them I couldn't cover today, but hopefully this video can give you a sense of what we are doing day to day.
Really.
So we do have a SBTi carbon reduction target, and that's why there's a lot of this kind of environmental initiative going on in the business. So this is one of the most environmental friendly station in Hong Kong. It's Prim Plus. I'm not sure whether the center is here. Then we got a Pentanom there. And then we have another subsidiary doing recycling.
What train was arriving?
This is the target area setting.
No.
Good.
So we also invest in startup, and then we also have like having them to cycle our challenges. And this is the youth program that we mentioned.
It's clicking.
So we also work with NGOs or dementia. So we now can actually identify dementia if they can get lost in MTR stations. We have automatically alert about their location and then to their family. And this is our business in Australia.
Wow. Juga tuh. Gede. Kita itu juga.
So with that, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you, and looking forward to see you in Hong Kong. Thank you.